Hello everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing. 5 cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1 star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ, all the 1s and 2s. By the name of someone, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over 2. And prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? Welcome to another very amateur episode of Straight Chilling. We are not professionals, no matter what you may think. Today, we're going to be talking about Pet Sematary on episode number 209, recorded Sunday, April 7th, 2019. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Santa Barbara, California, Randy Gandy G. Landy.
What's up, everybody?
Yo, I like your shirt.
Hey, Randy.
That's going to play well on the audio.
It's plays so well. It's a shameless plug for you to check us out on YouTube. Randy's got that dope Creep Show shirt.
Yep. It's where I get this? I got this at the Halloween Town store in Burbank. It's pretty fucking great. If you have a chance to go there, it is a massive Halloween-oriented store. There's actually 3 buildings. A children-oriented building for kids' shit. Costumes-oriented building for just general costumery, and there's a lot of it. And then there's just horror shit, and that's the best one, obviously, and that's where I got this shirt. So go there, Burbank, Halloween Town.
I think I'm just going to move in. I'm just going to live there.
I mean, you might already have stock in it and not know.
You probably do. Last but not least, calling in from Southern Korea, Soju.
What up? It's your boy, Jejun Stains, fresh off the bateau.
I understood 50% of the words you just said, at best.
We got some housekeeping to get through real quick. I like to make my triumphant return first by saying, Bob fucked us. He fucked us. No lube.
Fuck did I do?
Bob robbed us of a quality Randy rant, House of Wax bullshit. Really missed the mark on that one, Bob. There's how many underworlds could we have chosen, Bob? How many?
4, I think. We did 1.
How
There's
many
5?
blue movies did we miss out on, Randy bitching about?
Look, this is a vital lesson. When you have a theme of make your friends suffer, make sure that they will suffer. Don't risk it.
I remembered it being worse than it was, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Also, apparently the show just falls apart without me. I mean, no cooter, no YouTube video, Rob barely able to run that Rotten Tomatoes segment, even though we do it every week.
I don't know what you say. I don't pay attention to you.
Did we drop? We didn't do a cooter, did we? Can we do that now? Posthumous cooter?
You missed your chance. Also, I wanted to mention, because nobody else did, and if I had been on the cast, I would have totally called this out. Rob tried to forcefully insert a Godsmack song several times into that episode. It is the Voodoo song.
Yeah,
Rob would just randomly start singing a Godsmack song. I don't think anybody else was aware enough to be able to call him out on it. I was like, you gotta call that fucker out. He's singing Godsmack.
I don't watch a lot of Marines commercials, so I don't know that many Godsmack songs.
I know. I just was I was screaming into my phone. No, call that bitch out.
It made sense in context. I honestly don't remember the context, but I remember it made sense.
There's no acceptable context for Godsmack. I'm sorry.
Oh god, but they were playing Disturbed and Marilyn Manson and shit. It made sense.
No, that's fine.
Oh,
I didn't even notice you were singing or some shit. Were you speaking?
Rob would just try to, every now and then he would just try to sing that song, and everybody else would just ignore it. It was completely.
I was too busy conflicted about enjoying a movie that I was told not to.
So I just those were my housekeeping.
Jeez.
Been gone away.
God, stay in France. Go back to where you came from.
Yeah, they really rubbed you into a fucking tizzy, didn't they? Fucking come back with an axe to grind.
Nah, come see, come saw.
Filled your ass with baguettes, eh? Filled it. So
You know it.
we have
Oh.
actual housekeeping real quick. Just a quick reminder, our April poll pick is posted. Sorry, this is actually our May poll pick now, not April. May poll pick is posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you can vote on a movie we're going to be talking about this May. The theme for May is Maniacal Mothers, and the 3 movies that are up there that you can vote between are Inside, Psycho, and Carrie. Some heavy hitters, man. Good movies.
That's a rogues gallery of good ass movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. I'd
Yeah.
be stoked to talk about any of those, really. So,
How those numbers looking?
last I checked, Inside and Carrie were tied. Psycho was falling behind a little bit.
Damn.
Yeah. So definitely make sure you cast your vote. You got till the end of the month to do it. Come May 1st, you're too late. Too late.
Wait, the OG Carrie?
Yeah, the original Carrie.
Ugh. Why are people picking that over Psycho?
And the original Psycho, just to be clear.
I just think I don't know if I would pick the original Psycho if it was me voting from the outside, because it's like I don't know what our dumbasses are going to add to that conversation about Psycho.
Really nothing. I mean, there's so much out there.
Oh, we got to pivot to the Vince Vaughn one then.
We'll struggle to get a hot We'll struggle to get a hot take in on Carrie, I guess. But
Carrie is such a fucking incredible movie. So I mean, they all are. Psycho, and I love all these movies. Honestly, 5-star, whatever we're talking about. Spoiler alert.
what the fuck?
Also,
Don't bother everyone.
no,
Oh, no, I'm not too crazy about Carrie.
Oh God. Real quick, quick shout out.
Hot take.
We got a new Patreon supporter. We're going to pour one out for our boy, Jeff D, longtime listener. Jeff is OG, man. Like OG,
Yeah.
like years for sure. Big thanks for supporting us on Patreon, Jeff. We appreciate the hell out of it. And every dollar you guys contribute to us is going right back into the show. So it's going to make more spooky goodness for your ear holes and eyeballs. So
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, sir.
The way you put things is just you're like Tobias. It's crazy.
Perhaps I blew myself too early. I don't know.
I think so.
Juice. You got any like YouTubing/Twitching? I think you definitely have some Twitch news, right?
You
Yeah,
twitching?
so YouTube, we don't have an episode from last week. I guess no one recorded it while I was out,
Bitch, I
Oh.
tried. I
Yeah,
did.
we
my
did.
did you?
did
Oh,
try,
did
yeah.
you?
I don't.
Oh,
Again,
all right.
we're talking about this. Microsoft Skype and OS X Skype are not the fucking same.
gotcha.
do not
All right.
figure it out.
I appreciate the efforts, though. Oh my God. All right. So another Microsoft problem. Twitch yesterday, I was all set and raring to go. I announced it on Instagram and everything like that. We were going to do BioShock, one of my favorite games. And, I went to go stream it, and apparently, which I didn't know until after 45 minutes of trying to troubleshoot, it is just blocked from streaming. Like, I streamed directly from my Xbox, but I was looking on, it doesn't matter if you got PS4 or whatever. There might be some kind of copyright issues or something, but they just won't let you directly stream to any console. I don't know about PC. So it literally was just like a blank screen for for 45 minutes while I tried to figure out why the fuck it wouldn't record. So we can't do BioShock, which is a bummer. So I'm going to make it up. I'll do a stream Monday night instead, which is tomorrow night. And I have to pick a new game. I think I'll just go ahead and do that Inside game. It's the other game developed by Playdead Studios, the same people who do Limbo. So we just finished Limbo last month. I was going to, kind of pivot to a shooter and then maybe back to another platformer, but I just kind of got Inside ready, I guess. So we'll just go ahead and do that one for this month. And I'm bummed. I really want to play BioShock. That game is really fucking cool, but no dice on BioShock.
It's weird that there's like some sort of filter for copyright claimants and things
That
like
is
that.
weird.
I mean, it's not weird. It makes perfect sense, but I didn't know that was going on.
Yeah, and actually, Twitch, I guess, is actually pretty good about it. I've seen another game that has a song in the intro. I noticed I was playing and trying to do some recording, and it just blocked out the intro, but it came right back into the game. So like it knew the song was, but yeah. So it's got this little pause icon, and that's what I noticed on Bioshock. I was like, why is it on pause? And so I thought maybe there was some kind of trigger you could pull it off of, and then it just took forever to figure out. So by then I just stopped the stream.
This is like the first step in like a 3-step devolution where we just become old men who can't figure out how our remotes work.
What is
it's screaming into the sky? Why?
So Monday night I'll be back on Twitch with Inside from Playdead Studios. It looks cool. I've never played it, so it should be surprising to me. If you dig the game or if you're interested in the game, check it out. I'll be live streaming 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Sweet deal. Quick update here. The past couple weeks, I've been promoting a live crossover show we're doing with a Shortbox podcast in Jacksonville, Florida. Supposed to be happening next Saturday, April 13th. Unfortunately, we're going to have to postpone the show. One of the people had sort of a family emergency pop up, so we can't make it happen next Saturday. Unfortunately, I'm very sorry to say so, but it looks like we're going to reschedule for Saturday, May 18th. Still at 7 o'clock, still at the Justice Pub in Jacksonville, Florida, and we're still talking about Creepshow. So just mark that down on your calendar. Saturday, May 18th, come hang out with us. It's still a free event, and it's definitely something you're going to want to be there for. And last but not least, we had our Joe Bob live watch party, our second in a row this past Friday, and it was fucking great. It was another successful live watch, I think. We had a solid crowd. Joe Bob showed Q the Winged Serpent, which I'd never seen, and then fucking Society, which is incredible.
I had never seen.
It's a great movie in a weird, sticky way. So sticky.
Whoa.
That's apt. Yeah.
Yeah. But big thanks to everybody that hung out with us for that. Like I've said before, it's something we plan to do every Friday for the next seven Fridays, I think, until Joe Bob is done with this season or whatever you want to call it. And we've been posting links to join that on our Facebook page and on our Twitter just a few minutes before the show starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if that's something you want to join us for, check out that link. What's up, Randy?
I actually think that the link is the same every time.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna look it up real quick. Because we're just streaming it public from our Straight Chilling account. If you look for our Straight Chilling account, you'll find it at also. Yeah, here it is. It's on Rabbit, so rabb.it/Straight Chilling. That's where you want to go.
Nice.
So if you got a Joe Bob craving on this Friday, come and join us. We'll be shooting the shit and annoying everyone and doing our thing.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, save the link and same time, same place for the next 7 weeks or so. We're gonna be doing it. Shit's fun, man.
It's a lot of fun. So what? We're up to like 3 days a week. You can get your straight chilling fix now.
Yeah.
We've got our regular episode, we got some Twitch, and we got some live watches. I mean, come on.
We're kind of spoiling you guys here. I mean, come on. You guys got to start putting out.
Half the week you can spend with a Straight Chilling crew.
Which it might be more than you fucking want, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a lot of us.
It is. It's a hefty dose. Fucking hefty dose. Anyway, big thanks again for everybody that hung out with us this past Friday. I fucking love Joe Bob, obviously. He's been saying some weird things. I still love the man, but he makes me, I don't know. He's like dancing around some
there's
stuff.
A lot.
There's
a lot of opinions that I do not share with Mr. Bob.
Yeah.
Mr. Dick Bibbs and I do not agree on certain things, but the man is fucking charming as shit.
He is.
That was a Texas flag shirt he was wearing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
I got to disagree with him on that. Let's just start.
I don't believe that flags should be shirts.
I appreciate the man's opinion on Yabos, though. I can say that.
God. Oh, moving on. Moving on. Let's go ahead and get into what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Hey Randy, what you been watching?
Setting aside Joe Bob, I've mostly just been shotgunning the fuck out of Game of Thrones, doing rewatch and prep for the final season, and also just because I've been working on some some animation and shit, and it's nice to have something rolling in the background.
Yeah.
So I've literally gone through I think almost 3 seasons now.
Damn,
in 4 or 5 days. I've been working a lot, and while I'm working, it's just rolling. So 8 hours a day. So yeah, that's fucking great. I honestly, I had forgotten a lot of the specifics of the most recent season. So I watched that first, and then I went back to season 1 to just sort of fill in the love gaps.
Yeah.
I think it's season 7 was the last season, and 8 is going to be the final season.
I think you're right.
7 is a little weak in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's
hard to say too, because I started watching them, but I fell off. I wanted to start, from the first, but you probably did it smarter than me, Randy.
Really, the problem is it's a shorter season, so they don't really get much by way of slice of life stuff, but also there's some big decisions. I don't want to spoil a whole lot for anybody who hasn't watched it. It's a great series and it's totally worth the watch. But season 7, man, there's some storytelling decisions and shit that just kind of seem pretty fucking random or shoehorned in compared to other decisions made earlier in the series. I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into it. I could talk about it for a while. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see how they close it off anyway. One more season to go.
Next Sunday. Holy shnikes.
I cannot believe it's been 8 years since that show. I legit remember watching that first episode. I remember the HBO promos and shit, watching Boardwalk Empire and stuff.
I remember watching the first episode live of Walking Dead.
I remember watching landing. It was a glorious day. I was in my kitchen.
God, we are crusty old men, aren't we?
Yep. Sweet baby Jane.
Just turn into our own little old Joe Bobs over here. Richard Dick Bibbs.
I wish. I don't have that kind of memory.
Little mini Dick Bibbs. Anything else, Randy?
No, that's really about it. I've been working my ass off, so. All
right. Juice, what you been watching?
Watch a shit ton of movies on the plane for show. Some new movies that I'd never seen. I finally watched that Warm Bodies movie. I'd never seen that movie before, but always was kind of intrigued by it. I like that guy. Nicholas Hoult. He's the dude. He's in a ton of shit and really good stuff too. But that movie was all right, I guess. Didn't blow me away for show.
X-Men New Class. Seeing that? Is that the same?
I don't know. He was in that Mad Max. He was in Mad Max, and
yeah, I think that's that's Beast from New Class.
Yeah, Beast. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah. So watch that. I watched the Bad Times at the El Royale. That was solid. That was
never did watch that.
One of the better movies I watched. I watched Goosebumps 2. That shit was dumb. I watched.
Really? Fuck.
Yeah.
It was Halloween themed. I had some hopes that maybe it'd be a nice family level Halloween.
Yeah, it's Jack Black is the Goosebumps dummy, the ventriloquist thing, and I mean maybe for kids it's okay. It's just really kid. I mean it's really cheesy. It felt kind of like a Nickelodeon movie or something. So maybe for kids it might be all right.
We're just past our we're aged out of the program, I guess. The
goofiness just didn't have any kind of charm for me or whatever. So I was like, So I watched that new Predator movie. That shit was dumb.
That was all right.
Yeah, I rewatched It. I don't think I'd seen it since the theaters, the 2017 one. And at the time, I wasn't even thinking like, oh, covering Pet Sematary next week. So I was kind of glad I was watching that because I'm going to, do some comparisons with these, Stephen King movies being remade. But that was still solid. I was glad that I still enjoyed it a couple years later, that it still held up right.
I need to rewatch that. I'm looking.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I wonder. I was a little bit weird. Like I didn't love the movie like everyone seemed to at the time. I'm wondering what 2 years will do to me if I go back and watch it now.
Yeah. I thought, and I know, people always want to compare it. So it was nice to come back to it and just be like, okay, we're not around the hype and everything like that. It's not fresh out the theaters to kind of get that, perspective on it. And then I went and watched that new Shazam movie when I got back in town. I didn't really have anything to do. So I went and watched that Shazam movie. And man, I got to say, I don't know. It legit feels like a movie from the 90s. Like it feels the level of cheese that's in that
like
movie.
Shazam with
yeah, kind of, dude. The level of cheese that's in that movie almost reaches like Batman and Robin levels. Like,
damn.
And like certain things of it, like I was just thinking of like Godzilla. Like it like
good
seemed
Godzilla.
It seemed like a movie that was literally just like plucked from the 90s. And the thing is, if I were like 9 years old, I think I would like love the shit out of it. But I watched it and I was just like, I don't know what I think about that. Like, I'm like, well, I mean, they did that well. I was like so surprised. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't think I like as a 30-year-old want to watch that again. I don't know. It's kind of hard. Like the humor was like good and like I don't know. It was wild how like spot on with the like 90s feel to me it was. It's really goofy and like the effects in it like it's wild, man. I don't know. And the costumes. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird one. DC, they're all over the place, aren't they?
Maybe it's just weird because it's almost family oriented movie, really? Like, because that's what it looks and sounds like.
I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's got a lot of humor, but it's not that Marvel style humor. It legit like feels like a Batman and Robin style. Like when I was a kid, like I loved the shit out of it. But like if I saw that as an adult, I'd be like, this is horseshit. I mean, like it's kind of got that feel to it.
Well, that like back in the 90s, like the only way you were making a superhero movie was if it was like geared towards the Nickelodeon
exactly
crowd.
Yeah
maybe that's why it's just sort of like just entering that realm again feels a little bit like putting on an old crusty sock.
At one point I thought to myself, I was like, is DC trying to tank this genre? Like, are they trying to like, since they can't win,
that's some
like
Ozymandias shit, buddy.
I legit was sitting there thinking some meta shit. I was like, I think they're just trying to like delegitimize like this genre now.
Tear it down. Time to make that Lobo movie.
That's what it kind of felt like, dude. It felt like they're like, now we're just gonna make it for kids again, and then it's gonna be hard. Like, I don't know. It was weird.
Oh shit!
If
they're
we
gonna
can't
go in
have
and fucking
money, no one can.
Yeah, kind of. And then I think it just kind of worked out for him because people are I feel like I am going against the grain a little bit. People are like praising the shit out of this movie. So I don't know.
Yeah, well,
they kind of stumbled into it, maybe.
I don't think anything at this point is going to tank the superhero genre outside of the Marvel universe. I think they're right. They're captaining that ship. They're going to crash it or they're going to land it. It's up to them. Probably crash. They're going to keep spinning the wheel until it crashes.
I watched a handful of movies this week. I've been blasting through some of Vinegar Syndrome's catalog. If you're unfamiliar with Vinegar Syndrome, it's similar to that of like a Scream Factory or like an Arrow Video. They
but
put out.
somehow more obtuse.
Somehow
I-
more
yeah.
obtuse. Yeah.
I gotta say that's a terrible name. It makes me Vinegar Strokes.
It's very
Anytime you say Vinegar
yeah.
Syndrome, I just assume you're about to say Vinegar.
So where that name comes from, which I was,
Yeah.
they had to like tell me because I had no idea.
Yeah.
I guess if you've got like a 35 millimeter film reel that's just like not being taken care of, it's like out in the elements, it gets really hot, it gets really cold or whatever, it'll like deteriorate and actually turn into like vinegar or something. It's called the vinegar syndrome, I guess. If you just don't take care of your shit, it's not like in a
gotcha.
temperature regulated area. So they're sort of like saving these movies from that. They like pull a lot of these like old movies from like the 70s and 80s and even earlier out of obscurity, and they like do their 2K scans or their 4K scans and like make fancy Blu-rays, and a lot of them are horror related. So I've been watching some of these like more obscure horror movies that they've been putting out. So one that I watched is like a slasher movie called Cutting Class. I want to say, I think it was like from 89 or 90. It was just on the cusp of the 90s, and it had Brad Pitt in it, which
Holy shit.
yeah, like an early.
You got to
Brad
start
Pitt
somewhere,
movie.
buddy.
Yeah, and
I love those. It's like what Texas Chainsaw, what was it, 4? with
with
Renee
McConaughey and
Zellweger.
Renee
Yeah,
Zellweger.
McConaughey.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did I tell you I went on the Paramount lot tour in Hollywood with my family when they visited?
Yeah.
And they have a bunch of props from that movie. And they
awesome.
Nobody
the
wants
page
them.
who was showing us around, the tour guide guy he was like, yeah, these are from a movie that Renee Zellweger would like to forget called Texas Chainsaw Massacre: A New Beginning or whatever. And I was
Next
like, I
Generation.
fucking know that movie quite well. I saw that travesty of fucking cinema.
It's terrible.
There's shit. Actually, there's one piece in this big prop room where they just have a bunch of props, mostly from Jackass movies for some reason. And there's one prop, and they're like, "Yeah, we were trying to figure out what this is from. It's like a weird face, like carnival face." And they're like, "We couldn't figure it out." And then eventually, somebody like reverse Google image searched it and found it in fucking Texas Chainsaw Part 4. So.
We can't figure it out. Bob, tell me about Brad Pitt and Cutting Class.
Sorry.
I will. So it's a high school slasher movie. Brad Pitt is a huge piece of shit, just like cruising for chicks and slamming beers. He's a terrible human being. It's
So is he like 20 years old or some shit?
probably, I don't know exactly when he was born, but he's young, man. He's definitely young.
Wow.
I don't know, man. It's got some pretty fun kills in it. And like watching a couple of these Vinegar Syndrome releases prior to Cutting Class, they're like super low budget. And this is definitely low budget, but it's actually like on the higher end, I think. Like I just expected it to be like bargain barrel, like this movie's shot with like $1,000 basically, but it's actually like a pretty well put together movie. Like you can't really see the fishing wire, like when you're watching it. So I enjoyed it, man. It's pretty solid actually. I definitely recommend that one. I also watched.
You're getting obscure, Bob.
Yeah, well, that's because we're professionals here at Straight Chilling Podcast.
I'm sure that's the reason.
I don't think so, Bob.
It's not. It's because I like weird shit. I watched this movie called Body Melt that was also put out by Vinegar Syndrome, and it's another early 90s movie.
I think there's a workout tape about that name.
So this was an Australian produced movie. So after I started watching it, I hit up Shane, which is like our Australian buddy. He's been on the show a handful of times. He's like,
I was just about to say, call Shang the Mang.
Yeah, Shang the Mang. I was wondering if he knew about it or if it was like, kind of a big deal or whatever in Australia. And he said that there's definitely like a cult following for it. And he actually has a copy of it. He was very familiar with Body Melt, which I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. Especially after watching this movie, I was not a fan of this shit. Not for me. Basically, the premise is it's like this. It's like a nutritional supplement that's produced, and like when you take it, you like mix it with just like a glass of water, and you drink it, and then you go do your workout or whatever. But then you start like hallucinating these insane fucking things, and then your body starts to like mutate, and then should you remain alive long enough, you just fucking melt. So there's like some pretty insane practical effects in this movie, but beyond that, It's just like nonsense, like complete.
Yeah, what a ridiculous
incoherent
premise.
It's just like incoherent nonsense.
Wait a minute.
The
This
movie
isn't clear by the
the movie was like based on 3 different short stories, I guess. And when you like, I didn't know that until after I watched it because literally there's like complete non sequiturs, and like it seems like they just skip over entire scenes, and you're just like, how did we even get here? Like, what did I miss? It's fucking nonsense. The practical effects are cool as shit, but beyond that, I can't really recommend the movie in good conscience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
full of bogans.
Yeah, littered with bogans for sure. The last one that I watched, it was another Vinegar Syndrome movie. Is a movie called Blood Hook. It's like an 80s slasher, like summertime slasher movie. It's basically like, what if there was a murderer on the loose that killed you with his fishing pole? Like he casted his hook and just was so incredibly accurate with it that it always landed like in your throat or like in your gut and just like murdered
He's
you.
a Jackson Pollock of
He shouldn't be
fish hook
killing
murder.
people. He should be like entering competitions and shit.
And this
Sharp
movie,
shooting with your line.
it's centered around a fishing competition. It is.
No fucking. Oh my god!
It.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Somebody had access to a boat show and had
Yeah.
permission to film. Didn't they?
Yeah.
That's how that movie got made.
For like June, we should do like a summer themed one, or maybe even July, and you can pick that movie, Bob.
I very
Vinegar
well
Strokes.
might. Yeah. Vinegar Strokes.
So
This movie it's super low budget. It's got some of the worst dialogue I have ever seen in a movie. It's one that I definitely recommend. It's fun. It's stupid as all hell. Just watch it with friends and you'll get a kick out of it, I'm quite sure. It's also like very centered on music, like to the point where they get like into like light music theory, like what the thing that makes the crazy guy go crazy and start killing people is he's got this like metal plate in his head, and like should he hear a tritone, it like reverberates in his brain and makes him go fucking crazy and starts killing people. So they have this guy
Shit.
that's like trying to write music, and he like goes on this crazy like tangent explaining what like a like he has perfect pitch, and he like what a tritone is, and the fact that it was like outlawed in like medieval times, and it's like the devil's
outlawed.
Yeah,
That's
It's the brown note.
It's like the devil's interval, and it drives people crazy, and I don't know. It's funny. It's fucking dumb, and it's very funny. I recommend it. It's good shit.
That's the same movie as the fishing competition.
Yep.
That's the same. Okay. All
No,
right.
it's
Someone
not. It's not.
was all over the place, or it sounded like two friends. One was a
Somebody-
fucking musician, one was a fisher.
Yeah.
Somebody sat down on a very specific day of their life to write that movie.
Yeah.
It's like very, very specific things on their mind.
You know what? I love tritones and also fishing. I'm gonna write
I really
a
want to
fucking
work in a
movie.
brown note into my fishing movie.
Anyway, yeah, that's it for me. That's what I've been watching. Some Vinegar Syndrome shit. Let's go ahead and get into the main event. Talk about Pet Sematary 2019. Kick it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
What's on the back of the box? Okay. Dr. Lewis Creed and his wife, Rachel, relocate from Boston to rural Maine with their 2 young children. The couple soon discover a mysterious burial ground hidden deep in the woods near their new home. And that is...
Burial ground.
Burial.
Did you have a
burial
stroke?
ground.
It's a pet burial ground.
Burial ground.
Oh,
A burial ground.
That shit
Oh,
was
shit.
weird.
sounds like fucking Rip
Burial
Torn.
ground.
We're not hosting a burial ground.
We're not
A
hosting
burial ground.
intergalactic burial ground. This movie was directed by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. They're like a directing duo. What did they do before this? I forget. What it was. They did Starry Eyes. That's right. We did a show on Starry Eyes a long time ago.
Yeah, we did. Wow, that's like
Yeah,
episode like 7 or
yeah,
some shit.
it was years ago. I mean, I like that movie quite a bit.
That was.
actually.
I somehow remember. I got this weird memory. That was a Drew pick. I don't know
Yeah,
why
yeah.
the fuck I would remember.
Yeah, it was
that.
a Drew pick.
Yeah.
Rob, you gave it a 3. Juice, you gave it a 2.5, and I gave it a 3.5. I enjoyed that movie a lot.
Yeah, it's
I liked
So
it.
I-
I remember liking it. Sticks in my mind is liking it.
Yeah, they also did one of the shorts on that Holidays movie. It's on Netflix. It was like a
Yeah,
horror
I've seen that.
anthology
One.
movie. They did
It's called Holidays.
Father's.
Did they do the Easter Bunny one?
No, I think
Oh.
they did Father's Day. I think.
I don't remember that one.
I only remember the Easter one. Oh, and the
Actually, yeah,
shitty
that's the one
Christmas
that
one.
really
that,
sticks out.
Like Kevin Smith did or something.
No.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith did Halloween, which is dumb.
Oh
It's
yeah. Okay, that's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
very, very dumb. Hollow
Yeah.
Ian. God.
Oh my god, that was
Kevin
really-
Smith, I like you, but fuck off, man. That shit's dumb.
I like you, but fuck off is it's pretty conflicted stance. I gotta say.
So Pet Cemetery 2019. We also did a show on the original Pet Cemetery, which was also a Drew pick way back in the day.
Also a Drew pick. I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. I saw that man earlier today. We were talking about that. So yeah, this remake is new to us because it's new to the world. Were you guys excited going in to watch this? And would you recommend people go to the movie theater to check it out? Randy, why don't you kick us off?
I was a little trepidatious about this movie. I just didn't seem all that interesting to me. The things that interest me about it were the fact that the director of Starry Eyes, back when I remembered that, I remember somebody, I think you told me that, Rob, originally. And I was like, oh, okay, well that warms me to it. And then I forgot. Fucking what's his dick? Judd. What's his fucking name?
Oh yeah, Lithgow.
Lithgow, thank you.
Lithgow.
Fucking yeah, John Lithgow. Like that was a selling point for me. I just remember the last thing I saw him in horror wise, or even horror adjacent, I guess I should say, was that Dexter season that he was a part of, which is definitely the best season to me.
Oh yeah.
Of a show that I've kind of like cooled on a lot for a lot of reasons over the years. But that season 4, he is so good in that.
Yeah.
So I was kind of excited to see that, even though he's never going to be Herman Munster. That's fine. I would say that considering all the movies that are out right now, you could do a lot worse. I'll say that.
All right. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I was looking forward to this mainly because I didn't grow up with Pet Cemetery, and actually I think I've only seen it the one time when we covered it. And it's very dated. It's got some good things about it, but it's also very dated, and I was kind of looking forward to that update, especially because I enjoyed it and just kind of seeing what could be done with a modern remake and people kind of taking it a little more seriously now, or giving it, some really quality behind it. But I don't know. The theater, I mean, yeah, it's the beginning of the summer, so yeah, not a whole lot's out right now, but the dam's about to break. So if you're gonna see it, I guess see it now, because otherwise I wouldn't bother. Once the good shit starts coming out, it's not really gonna be worth it at that point.
Yeah. I also did not grow up with the original Pet Cemetery. The first time I'd ever seen it was when we did a show on it way back when Drew
Really,
picked it.
both? You
Okay,
Yeah, it was
Okay.
first timer. And last week, I rewatched the original in preparation for this show we're doing right now, just to get a refresher. And I think I liked it quite a bit more the second time I watched it. I don't know why that was, but it was way more.
Because you've been watching Vinegar Syndrome.
Maybe
That's true.
maybe so. It was way
Yeah,
more.
you've been watching movies about fishermen and fucking Devil's
This
Brown
movie
Note.
was- it's a long jump from Brown Note to a Stephen King joint. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
there's tears.
that follows. I was gonna say it was way more brutal than I remembered it being, but in comparison, maybe you have a point. Yeah, I was excited going in for this remake because I don't know. After watching the trailer, I thought it looked pretty cool, and of course, I'm a fan of John Lithgow. I've never really seen him go wrong, and I think he did a great job in this movie too. I don't know that I would really recommend you run out to the theater to watch it. I think this movie would actually be perfect for a rental. Wait for it to hit Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever, and just watch it in the comfort of your living room this fall. Give it a few months and rent it. I think it'll serve you well if you do so.
Yeah, it'll be perfect for coming up on that fall season.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and drop that spoiler warning, and we'll get into the whole kit and caboodle.
Spoiler warning.
All right, gentlemen's, let's go ahead and do it. So this movie, I haven't read the book. Have you guys read the book?
Dude, we don't read shit.
Y'all
I barely
do.
get a chance to read the trivia in advance of every episode. So.
I used to. I don't think I've read a book since I moved to Korea, and that's almost been 2 years. Like, I don't legit think I've sat down and read a full book.
So it's really, really advertising our expertise here.
Well, I mean, I don't think I've ever read any Stephen King book, though, to be fair. Like, I've read some old like classic horrors, like Jekyll and Hyde and like Dorian Gray, like shit like that, Dracula and Frankenstein. But I never really, outside of like reading Goosebumps and shit, like when I was a kid, and the scary stories, shit like that. I've never really just read a lot of horror novels, anyways.
Well, I don't know if it really matters. I don't know if this is more true to the book or not. But I know, like, as far as the original movie and this remake, okay, there's like kind of the big thing that people had their panties in a wad about is like Gage isn't the kid that dies. Ellie dies in this remake, which I think it actually kind of solves some problems that you may or may not have had with the original, with like this tiny kid who's like, dragging his parents' corpses around and stuff. It's just not feasible. Also, I don't really care personally. We're watching a movie about a fucking pet cemetery. You bury people and they come back to life, like, suspension of disbelief or whatever. I don't really think it matters too much, but also,
it does make more sense. I can't remember. There were some things like I didn't rewatch Pet Sematary, like the '89 one or whatever. Is there an Ellie in that movie?
Yeah,
she's barely in it.
They have 2 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, they do have
certainly in comparison to Gage, she's given like very little screen time.
Yeah.
Okay, it does make much more sense to have. I mean, it's still, even like a 10-year-old girl couldn't like drag her mom around, so that doesn't really fix that problem. But it, like, as far as having like an actor or like an actress and like handling a role and stuff, it just makes like that kind of sense.
That's what I was going to say.
It's like
a
personality.
The kid that they got for the original was kind of once in a lifetime sort of situation, because that kid could scowl like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And like they could at least sell that as, okay, this kid really intends hard. Like it was good enough acting, especially for his age, like crazy good acting for his age, but good enough acting for us as an audience to be like, okay, I get what's happening. Like, but this one, you have a slightly older girl who is not old. She's still a child, but she does a great job. Like I was most impressed acting wise with her, even more so than like Lithgow or any of that.
Really?
Anybody else? Really? Yeah, I thought she did pretty fucking great. Like the transition was pretty fucking stark to when she comes back.
She did
like,
well. It didn't blow me away.
I did pretty fucking good.
It didn't blow me away.
Yeah, that was actually one of the biggest beefs I had with this movie, is like the transition. Like I'm not saying it was like all on her, but it didn't feel menacing. Like she tries to do that like voice at first, like when they had that scene where like he's brushing her hair in the bathtub, and then they go lay in the bed, and she kind of starts to get more, and it just like it felt like a little girl trying to like
that scene that you're mentioning where they go lay in the bed is actually my favorite scene of the movie, not because of the girl's performance, but because of the dad's performance, actually.
Okay, he
sells, like, he just has this look on his face like he's totally living in the fact that he fucked up so bad.
Yeah.
I love that moment in the movie.
Especially when she's like, tell her or whatever, like when the wife calls and shit. Yeah, he definitely does. That dude, so he was in Winchester. That dude was in Winchester?
I don't know.
I don't
I'll have to look it
remember.
up.
That movie is
I
so
think so.
forgettable.
Yeah, that's true. He's been in a couple things. I don't know his name. I guess
Jason something.
I guess the character itself was a little bland, but like I like that guy. Like that, I agree with you with that scene. There were moments like where he was like where his character wasn't particularly interesting, but that dude still like sold me. So I was like, well, this dude's doing a pretty good job.
He was in
Winchester.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say, like, the dad overall, actually, I was pretty underwhelmed with his performance, but that one scene,
Me too.
I thought was really, really good. That one scene.
I don't think he did. I think he did all right in that scene too. But like, yeah, and overall, there's something about Jason Clarke is his name. He's not bad, but there's something that bothers me.
Yeah.
About him, and I think it's that he doesn't open his mouth very much. Like he kind of speaks without moving his lips, and it's kind of distractingly so. I don't know
he's
how to really.
He's got a particular face too. He almost like looks like Quentin
Hey, what's
Tarantino
going
a
on?
little bit, or like I don't know. He's got that kind of like smushed face or something. Looks like somebody hit it with a barbell or some shit.
Let me see them teeth.
I'm gonna go bury my daughter, Judd. I just gotta bury my daughter.
Randy,
Okay,
you look like you're pooping.
Enunciate a little. Yeah, well, imagine how I felt watching this guy poop on screen.
Yeah.
No, I think I thought that the girl looked great though. Personally, I think that there's only so much you can do to make a little girl menacing in the first place. But I think for her part,
Yeah.
like she was very genial, very charming at first, and then when the axe drops, there were a few moments where I probably wouldn't praise her quite so much because but she's kind of like stuck out to me as like the strongest actor in this movie, which doesn't really speak well to the rest of the actors.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I was about
felt
to say, wow, like I didn't.
No, I'm not
I guess
acting a
in
real good
comparison,
score on this movie in general, and it's not because anybody like phoned it in or anything like that. I just really think that this movie failed to give you enough like little slice of life moments. It was so fucking brooding. There was just absolutely no levity. There was nothing resembling warmth in the household. There's nothing resembling warmth in the friendship between Judd and the family. Like, I really didn't connect with the characters because they were constantly just brooding or just otherwise like disengaged or have some they're dealing with, which is part of the movie and which is necessary. But I feel like the baseline wasn't there.
Which is really weird too, because one of my biggest beefs with this movie, it's like a standard hour and a half, I think, and
it's like an hour 45. It's a little. It's 40, a little
okay,
long.
so a little bit, but dude, like legit, like the first hour, nothing, like it's all like exposition and stuff like that. And so the fact that, like, I agree with Randy, like you don't kind of feel those things. It's like you've had the time, like it's like you've spent the time to try. Like it feels like they're more focused on telling you how the Pet Cemetery works than like anything else. And then like you feel like, okay, well then they're gonna like cut loose, and like they kind of do, but it's really just like this girl just stabbing people with the scalpel, which when she cut like Lithgow's like tendon or what, like that shot, I was like, oh, that like looks gross. But other than that, like I didn't like feel like scared. Like she just kind of like mows them bitches down in like the last 20 minutes of the film, like there's not a whole lot.
There's a couple touchstones in the movie that definitely hit home for me, but I agree with you guys. Overall, I really felt the runtime of this movie. I felt bored throughout a large portion of it, but I will say the kid that gets wheeled in that was hit by a car where like his brains are showing.
Oh,
that was cool.
Holy shit, man. That was hardcore. And I felt they did a decent job with Zelda. It was like, it wasn't great, but scary enough, memorable
and they
enough.
were trying to, that was the kind of like, okay, we gotta like, like there's an hour of this movie where we're not doing anything. It was kind of that was the way they kind of like made it like spooky or scary. Dude, I had to go back. I still think I've only seen Pet Sematary 1. I didn't even remember any like the Zelda scenes. And I was like, was this in the first movie? And I went back and I was like, oh shit, that shit is like scary. Like,
but they spent a lot more time on it. Am I wrong about that? It feels like they spent more time in it in this movie.
Actually, I went back and it was like all Zelda scenes in Pet Cemetery, and it was like less than 5 minutes. It was like 4 minutes total.
So yeah, it's significantly more.
Yeah. So So yeah, but I've forgotten that shit's like in both movies is like kind of disturbing and kind of a weird thing, because that's another thing too that they don't spend a lot of time on. Is I liked at the beginning that kind of dialogue between the dad and the mom where they're talking to her about heaven, and you've got the mom on the one side who like, you know, believes in the afterlife, and the dad who doesn't, and the mom has it for good reason, you know, she's got this, her sister's died and she's like struggles with the guilt and shit like that, and the dad doesn't, but he's the one who ends up bringing the girl back, and the mom like rejects her. So but they don't really explore that. Like they have that one dialogue, you know, it's not really like fleshed out to give these characters any kind of like heavy weight or anything like that, which is disappointing. Like I feel like there's much more potential in this movie than what we ended up getting, and it's kind of a bummer.
I felt like this movie, as I know you said that like nothing really happens for a while, and that's true on the scale of like they don't bury a whole lot for a while, but it felt like the beats of this movie to me were like zooming by, but I just didn't care about them. Like I don't know, like maybe like, once we buried the daughter, then I'm like, okay, so this is where the movie begins, and it feels like we took forever to get here, but at the same time, like there were so many things fucking happening. They didn't spend any time. It felt like so cramped, like each beat. I remember there was one, like I can't remember specifically what it was, but there was a scene where I was like, my God, they really didn't even let that moment land at all. And maybe it was when the girl got cut or something like that.
I would have said with the kids with the mask, where they first do like the procession, like where they first see like the kids
that
burying
shit was
the
dumb,
dog,
right? Kind of dumb.
Well, a little bit, but I agree with Randy. It just felt like people talking at you. There's a lot of exposition. Yeah. So the mom just says like, oh, it's a procession. Oh, what is a procession? Oh, it's like a parade, but some not. And then the girl just like walks back there, and then Judd just talks to her. Well, this is a cemetery. And then like Judd sits down with the dad and like talk. Like it's just a ton of exposition, and a lot of it seems to be like, hey, these are the rules of the cemetery, but it doesn't. We don't need that, really. I don't know. It's just like they talk at you. They do. I think you're right, and I think the problem that I have with it is that they kind of expose those moments. Like they're like, oh, the Wendigo, and oh, the people know about this, and here's the lore. They focus a lot on the lore and like sort of like specifics of how like the Native American tribes that were there and all that stuff. But then they neglect things like when Judd has him first bury the cat. Judd's just sort of like, put it in there, and the guy's like, well, okay. There's no pushback. There's no like, Judd, why are you having me do this?
He does. He actually does.
Judd, he does for like 1 second. He's like, Judd, what are we doing? He's like, burying your cat. Like, well, why did you make me climb a fucking wall to do this?
He's like, we're burying your cat and nothing more. And he's like, okay.
So yeah, he's just straight up lying. I'm like, are you sure? Because I was going to bury it right back there. What's the deal? I felt like my John Everyman putting myself in his position thing was like, why aren't you asking more questions, man? Like this weird dude who has never cracked a smile in his life apparently is telling you to like made you climb through like a thicket to bury your cat specifically here with a bunch of weird symbols and shit. And there's like a fucking lightning storm down the way. Like, what are you doing to me, Judd? What's going on?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's weird. You basically just accept that because you know we have to get here for the movie to really start. Like we got to get the cat buried.
Judd, I got so pissed at Judd for that. And like in the first movie, it's kind of the same thing, but because Fred Gwynn is so much more relatable and genial, and you can see like he really has a rapport with the kids and with the family. It feels like him trying to help the family and kind of taking a risk, taking a gamble. Whereas in this movie, it seems like he's like almost gun to your head, just sort of like it's like he's like lying by omission and just like he causes the whole fucking train wreck. So
yeah.
I don't know. It felt a lot more like he was a lot more culpable, and his pre-existing damage as a person actually made it less impactful for me. Like it's clear that he's carrying a weight, but he has no like happiness seemingly at all, or nothing for you to latch onto. So I just don't sympathize with him on that front. I'm like, okay, well, you're fucking up, and you clearly know you're fucking up. I don't know. I was forgiving of him as an audience member, I guess, because of that. I don't know. The Judd character was a huge disappointment to me, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked Lithgow in the role. I thought he did a decent enough job, but very similar to like Lithgow, I feel the same about every character. It's just there isn't. I never fell into the story. I never felt like actually engrossed or invested in really anything at all that was happening in this movie, Lithgow or otherwise. I was just sort of like, okay, here we are, waiting for the next beat. Okay, the cat's buried. Okay, now the daughter's buried. Okay, now they're coming back. Okay. It's just like nothing carried much weight at all. It's just like you're checking the boxes. You know, you gotta
carried some heavy.
Yeah, and like talking about the exposition, like them telling you like how the cemetery works, like it seems like the focus should have been on, you know, because like this whole story is like you got the man of science and really like him not being able to like accept grief, you know, like the death of a daughter and stuff like that. And that's not really, like you said, you don't feel that even like when the daughter dies. And like it's a little harder now because like, okay, there's that scene where the daughter dies and like the truck hits her and like her body's kind of like laying in the grass for her. But at this point, like last year, I saw a fucking girl's head get knocked off and like fucking Colette like doing the best fucking
my girl Colette.
Doing the best fucking mom having a child murdered scream I've ever heard. Yeah, like that, like felt, and then this movie, it's just like, oh my god, you know, it's and like so we're spoiled a little bit. I'm just like, god damn, your daughter just got hit by a goddamn truck.
Even in the first, in the '80s version, the '89 version, I feel like the grief, at least right when it happens, the grief seemed way more. It was kind of, I don't know, soap opera even then, but like they really let out like a wail anyway in that first moment. It seemed, maybe I'm misremembering that, but it seemed like it hit me harder. And I think again, it has something to do with whether or not I care about the characters or whether or not they've had time to be a good family that you are sympathizing with. And they tried to do that a little bit in this, but they immediately jumped to, okay, there's fucking kids in the woods. Okay, here's Judd and his yellow fucking tobacco mouth talking some shit. And like,
he's a smoker.
I don't know. It just seems like they were like as much as like I would complain if the movie dragged its ass, it dragged its ass an entirely different way by like being too fast on like the exposition stuff and not giving any time to for the characters to like sit and it's not enough anyway. And at least, and their moments are never anything but like, oh, did you lose?
Yeah, you've been glitching out a little bit.
I think.
Well, whatever. I was saying, repeat. You guys get the idea.
Yeah, and the focus. I think I think it comes down to me is the focus on the cemetery really should have taken a back seat to the focus on the family, which is kind of what we've been saying. Like, it just like I don't really need to know, honestly. Like if you tell me like something's buried there and it comes back to life, that's enough. Like that's and even showing me like if a kid does that or even with the cat, like that's enough. Like I don't need to know.
But Justin, where did they get the scissors in the red jumpsuits?
Well,
oh shit!
That was Bob's beef. Actually, that was your beef too. I didn't even say any shit about the scissors.
It
wasn't a real beef for me. It was just whatever.
It was a slight
to us episode.
But no, I mean, just as far as like how the supernatural works, I guess, you know, it's not like you don't have to tell me that it's an Indian spirit or it's like the whole thing where they go. Yeah, like I don't need to know that. I need to know. I guess I need to know the rules that if something is buried there, it comes back to life, but it's kind of fucked up, which you get with the cat anyway. So that's like the baseline. So anything outside of the testing with the cat, I don't need. You know, like anything outside of
lore is a little lore adds to the creepiness. Too much lore is fucking midi-chlorians, and nobody likes midi-chlorians.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I love them. Fucking love them. I think like the inclusion of the Wendigo is kind of neat but it really did nothing in this movie. It's just like, oh yeah, it's a fucking Wendigo, and then that's the end of the Wendigo. That's
yeah.
it.
There's
That's
like
it.
maybe a shot where it's suggested it might be in the distance, and that's it. Like it's a Slender Man shot. That's it.
It really didn't.
I
do
mean, and like I
much.
don't need to be like. It doesn't need to be fucking Troll Hunter and have that motherfucker like careen at him or something with a hammer. But like, if you're gonna, I don't know. I like seeing things on the periphery. I kind of like that as a concept, and I know that I think that's how I read somewhere that's how they did it in the book and all this stuff. So like I described it in the book, but it just because it's like simultaneously not fleshed out enough and too much for us to bother with, it just doesn't land in any conceivable way. Like that's not a memorable scene. I'm not afraid of that thing in the distance because it's explained as, oh, it's an ancient Indian thing, and that's it. You know, like they explain it just enough to make it a distraction, I think, is the problem. And then they only expound on that distraction. They only make good on that distraction in one scene where it's suggested that it's kind of in the scene.
Yeah, and we need to talk about this ending because I think this is causing like a lot of controversy too. And I like something about it and I hate something about it. But
Lay it on us.
And so I guess in the OG, and I don't know how it is in the book, but in the OG, I actually do like that the guy, like, he's reached such a level of madness that he can't see that he's repeating his own mistake. And I think that's so impactful because he ends up burying his wife who is murdered by his son, and with the hopes that, like, oh no, like, she hasn't been
fresh.
dead. Like, she's fresh. I don't have to like dig her up or whatever.
Yeah.
And so but at this point, like, he's watched his son murder, you know, like he's like fucking going crazy and he's just making terrible mistakes because of that. In this one, I kind of like the idea of like that hive mind or like the need to like replicate I guess the almost like spiral effect. Oh shit, you let it happen to one and it like seeks it has like control to like then do it itself. And so what happens is the daughter kills the mom and then drags her body out there and is able to bury her herself to then bring her back as well.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that idea, but then the shot. So what happens is the dad is trying to kill the daughter and he's killing her. And I like that, like having him like face like his mistake or whatever. But then just like the mom stabs him through the like chest. With,
It's a
like,
freaking Friday the 13th part
or
6
some
moment.
shit.
Yeah, it is.
And that felt really dumb. Like, I don't know. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all.
I'm conflicted about the ending too, and it's not just because of the change, but like to speak to that, yeah, like the idea that he's gonna repeat in his grief. Both these movies, the central story is about grief. It's a ponderance on grief in some capacity. So in that first one, his grief leads him to make a mistake, and then that mistake leads to his wife dying, and then he proceeds to make the same mistake again in his grief. He doesn't learn his lesson. He's too begrieved to think this through, even with all the warning signs in the world from Victor Pascal and like common sense of any kind. Whereas in this one, he makes the mistake with his daughter and he kind of clings to it. He's still like, it's really her. And then, but the movie doesn't let it sit there really. I kind of like the idea of the family, like all coming back. It's kind of like a fun ending or whatever, but it doesn't have the same emotional impact. And also as far as like, I guess you could make the argument that like, okay, if grief is the centerpiece of this, his grief, brought the ghost of his daughter back, let's say. And then that infected his wife and her experience, and like grief basically causes the downfall of the entire family, and they're just walking husks at this point. Okay, like that's poetic enough. I can live with that. But then they also do this thing where it's like the mom, I think it's the mom, is like the daughter's talking to her and saying shit like, yeah, you want to join me in hell, mommy, or some shit like that. And the mom's like, you're not my daughter. basically implying that this is literally not her daughter. And the thing that the daughter doesn't refute it, so it leads you to believe, or led me to believe that, okay, so these are like demons now that are
You definitely know that it's supernatural when she goes to kill Lithgow, because her face completely transforms into his wife's face.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like the Wendigo demon creature, spirit, whatever. It's definitely not that kid resurrected at all.
And then it became kind of like The Exorcist. She's like, she's burning in hell or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck? What? I did like the aesthetic. I liked when she went to go get Lithgow and she had the mask and the dress she was wearing, like that porcelain kind of white dress. I like the aesthetic of that. And like the kids with the mask at the beginning, like I wish like they kind of promoted that a lot. And like I liked that when she went to go kill Lithgow. And like when she took the mask off and it was the face of like Lithgow's wife, I didn't like that.
I wasn't a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of the masks either, though, because it just feels like, hey, Animal Masks are kind of creepy, and those have worked before. Let's fucking throw them in this movie, because they don't add anything to the plot whatsoever. It's just like kids in
literally
masks.
It adds just as much to this movie as the masks add to The Farm. So
less in this movie. They actually have a purpose in The Farm.
I guess that's true.
Yeah,
but
they actually give it no reason in this movie.
Yeah, it's just like fucking whatever.
It's just
masks.
the ritual or whatever, and that's fine. Like a creepy ritual, I'm not against that idea. I'm not even against the masks on that front, but it doesn't. The whole thing, as compared to the '80s version, and what I presume the book does, is it just seems to try too hard to zero in on specifics that we don't need for what the story is about. So it loses me a little bit, and without the whole, even the backbone of relatability that the original had, it really kind of suffers. But the thing that this movie does better than the original, I'm not paying attention to you.
No one is.
The thing that this does better than the original, I would say, is obviously the gore. I like that the way, like what the little there is, I think they do better. I think it's pretty clear, especially with that brain thing. And I don't know, I like that.
Yeah.
I liked the music in this. Still, the best thing about both movies is the Ramones song.
The Ramones. I'm glad that they brought that back.
Me too. That made me really happy.
Cool fucking song, man. I like that song.
No. So, I mean, yeah, I like those things. They lost. I mean, the Judd character kind of lost out, which surprises me because I like Lithgow so much, and it's not like he fucked the dog on it or anything. It just wasn't. It's like just not that. He's not as interesting of an interpretation of Judd. In general, he just isn't really.
I gotta say, the
fun to look at or listen to, or
I think my favorite actor in this movie is the fucking cat. That's like the greatest cat actor I think I've ever seen in a movie, man. It's got that like Forrest Whitaker eye, that like lazy eye kind of thing when they bring it back. Did you notice that, man? It's got like a ton of personality on its face. I like the cat.
Not
man.
particularly.
Solid cat.
Well done, Mr. Nibbles.
Its name is Sherlock, Randy. I don't know what its name is.
Yeah, I think in general it's just. I think that the original. Here's my hot take: is I grew up with the original in that I saw it several times growing up, but it never really was a favorite movie of mine. It was never one that I really gravitated towards, and I think it has something to do now looking back because of Anthony's video on Something Ghoulish. Did you guys get a chance to watch that about Pet Sematary?
Yeah,
where it's sort of like a.
Yeah,
it's great. That man. Real quick, I'm going to wax Anthony's car. Yeah, watch all of his videos.
I did not think you were going to say car.
Search Something Ghoulish on YouTube. Do yourself a favor. Watch his videos. The man makes very good shit. Continue, Randy.
Yeah, but he made a really good point, and like it's in relation to what Stephen King thinks of the original story of Pet Sematary, which is apparently that it's his least favorite book because there's no hopefulness to it. There's no element of hopefulness or like things just sort of like careen and spiral out of control, and it just ends on like there's nothing. It's a real nothing you can do about it sort of feel with this story, which is something that there's there's not even really a whole lot of morality to it, except that like grief is cancerous, I guess you could say, is like the strongest thing in there. But there's no like, it doesn't detail or give any allegory for a way out of that cycle. So I think maybe that's part of it. Is the story is just too bleak. It's just a bummer. And with this movie, this new one being even more so because it's just toned way down into the valleys of moroseness from the get-go.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the problem is it's with that, even like if you're going to talk about like that, and they obviously took some liberties and made changes, so they're not against doing that. Really, if you wanted to make more of a good movie, as opposed to this, just seemed to kind of settle for the mediocre, like Hollywood, like horror kind of aspect, like, oh, we just got to get there kind of thing, is you could have changed it, and you could have had the father brings back the daughter kills the mother and maybe even like the brother or whatever, and then the dad has to deal with the grief, like, because he was there to kill the daughter. And I feel like that aspect could and to accept not to bury the wife, because she specifically says like, don't bury me in the pet cemetery, and like having
I don't want to be buried
to deal with having to deal with the consequences.
Yeah.
Doesn't that seem like that makes a better?
I mean, he survives in the first one. He's not like this.
No, I know. I'm talking about just like we are saying, like, oh, what, like Stephen King says, like, oh, there's no hope. Like, I'm talking about like if you're going to try to give it some kind of resolution, like, doesn't that seem more impactful? Like, the guy who doesn't believe in an afterlife brings his daughter back, she's fucked, and he like can't take responsibility for it. She kills the mom, the love of his life, if they showed more tenderness kind of between them, and her like saying like, don't bury, and then he has to go back and kill his daughter and accept that he knows that he could bring his wife back, but that it would be a terrible mistake. Like, doesn't that seem like he would have learned?
There would be a original arc,
And the original, doesn't it just sort of end with the evil wife coming back, like after he buries her, and it just sort of ends? Right?
It's actually, she's all like fucked up, and they start making out, and she like stabs him in the back or whatever.
So she does it. Okay.
Yeah, well, okay. So she comes in. The last scene is he's waiting for her in the kitchen. She comes in. She's got like pus leaking out of her eye or some shit. And like he's like, oh, I'm so in love. They start making out, and you see her reach over and like grab a kitchen knife, and then it fades to black, and you hear him scream like, ah, and then fucking Pet Cemetery, I think, kicks in or whatever. So that's how it ends.
Well, shit. I mean,
the very end of this movie is like, they don't kill Gage whatsoever. Gage he gets harmed not at all in this movie, but I feel like obviously it's sort of hinted at that he's going to die. I feel like it just they should have done something to really make that land. Like the family just walking towards Gage in the car and then cutting to black and rolling credits, just like that's not what you go to a scary movie for.
If you're going to have that moment, you should commit to it. The idea of having an on-screen patricide is way like that would stick with an audience and make him think, okay, this is a disturbing movie. Like just on a spectacle level.
That's where it's all going. Like the whole
they already did it with the daughter, but they just couldn't pull the trigger on the son, on the younger actor, which is interesting because the original had the younger actor and the story has like the younger character.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It felt lame as hell that they didn't like, it doesn't have to be like crazy, brutal, disgusting, but like just, do something instead of just like have the family walking towards him and then, that's the end of the movie. That's it. That's all you get.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Kind of lame, kind of a cop out there. I will say the little girl with like the slow stab when she's like killing her mom, that was pretty hardcore. That was kind of hard
she
to
like
watch.
stabbed her like in the gut and shit. She was like, but I was, but then at the same time she's doing that whole like you're gonna burn in hell thing, and I was like, they're just like ripping The Exorcist, or like it just felt
kind of
It felt like all over the place.
There's a lot to tie it with that, But I mean, I don't know if like I mean, you can't really call it like it's a ripoff or a camp.
No, not that. It just it felt weird. I don't know. It's
out of
just.
place. But also, I kind of at the same time, I kind of like that was one thing that I kind of liked about using her rather than Gage.
I think
as the first victim because she could communicate, and if you're like I just think that's interesting. I don't know that it necessarily was handled the best way that it could have been, but I can understand like sort of like the appeal of for a new take on this movie, giving a risen person something to say, and giving these non these husks something to say about their lot in life, or death, whatever. I don't know. I just don't know that it was entirely handled all that well, and it would have been so much better, and I keep harping on this, but it would have been so much better if they had done enough legwork on making the family a family that we like. I can't tell you a single thing about the mom except that she's traumatized by her sister. I can't tell you anything about dad except that he's traumatized by that kid with his brain, and later about his sons and daughters.
Judd by his dog and his wife.
Yeah, like there's nothing else about them though. Like there's nothing that makes them like grief is normal. So I'm not going to say there's nothing normal about them, but there's nothing every day about them.
Distinct, yeah.
There's nothing distinctive about them except that they're all in some sort of grief cycle.
Yeah.
Which is the point, which is necessary, but I just feel like if they had fleshed it out a little more, it would have. They needed the anchor. It really needed the anchor.
Yeah. Frankie's getting down like James Brown. Randy's gonna go bury her in a pet cemetery. No, he's not. I don't know. So yeah, there's I feel like we kind of touched on just about everything that I I don't know. I'd be down to rate this. Is there anything else you want to mention, Juice, before we continue?
No, not particularly.
Yeah. Randy, you want to rate this thing? Is there anything else that we haven't touched on yet that you want to hit?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay.
I can rate.
Cool. Let's go ahead and do it. Out of 5, Randy, why don't you kick us off? How are you feeling about Pet Sematary 2019?
So, I mean, I've already harped on a lot of it, but this movie didn't land for me perfectly, and it has its flaws, but it also wasn't unwatchable by any means. Like, performances, I shat on the performances a little bit, but they weren't so bad. They weren't like, they didn't stand out as being bad to me. It felt
more like directing and script to me, honestly.
Right, exactly. It was pacing, it was scripting, it was transitioning from scene to scene. Those things, like, kind of zoomed.
Doing?
I don't know, but it is loud as shit. Yeah, so I mean, I just think that I don't want to put all that on the actors by any means. I think it's really more of a pacing and editing and scripting problem. But overall, I feel kind of similarly to how I feel about the original, in that I think they're both kind of medium movies. Like for me, neither of them hits any particularly disturbing or memorable moment for me, or doesn't really hit any pleasure buttons for me. As a horror fan, not too many anyway, not enough to really make me all that interested. The core concept is good because it's Stephen King, so it's character centered around grief. I get that. I think it's interesting, but I just don't think that it's handled as well as it could be. Certainly not in this one. And I think what the good things about this movie, the things that this movie amps up, like the gore factor and sort of like the modern scares, and some of the like lore creepiness, whatever that stuff does add, I think is offset by the loss of things like fucking Fred Gwynn as Judd, and sort of like the pastoral and family centric opening that really kind of sells the collapse of the family, and even the like jokey Jokerson of Victor Pascal showing up and cracking dumb jokes to fucking to our doctor. I can never remember the lead character's name in this story, but he comes, like in the original, he was kind of like almost comedic relief, ghosty comedic relief.
Like crazy.
In this one, like I understand what they're trying to do, and it is scarier. So like, it's a plus for that, but it's a minus for the loss of levity because this movie has almost none. So, I mean, every plus has a minus. So I think I would give both movies a 2.5. I'm just gonna go and say I didn't rate it originally, but 2.5 for the original, 2.5 for this one. That's me.
Every rose has its thorn. Okay. Juice, how you feel out of 5?
I'm overall pretty disappointed with this, and I think, like I said, I went in hopeful because I did think that this movie was like needed the remake, or like sometimes you get remakes and you're like, why are we getting this? Why does this exist? And not that I thought like this was like absolutely necessary, but I was like, yes, this is a movie I feel like it's pretty dated, and I would like to see updates, mainly like what Randy was talking about. I just like with the ghost, I remember in the original being like, this is weird, like it just like didn't fit to me, and I thought that they handled it, or I mean, it made more sense in this. I felt like they could have done maybe more with it, but ultimately they dropped the ball. It feels like maybe the directors phoned it in instead of making it something that could have been like it really just felt like a by the numbers, just like it didn't really feel like they had a lot of passion in it, or like they really knew what to do with it either. But it seems like, I don't know, with the choices they made, it seems like they're willing to take chances. They just didn't hit any of the marks for me personally. And ultimately, it's disappointing because I think looking back, the original is still more entertaining. Like neither of them like really hold much weight to me personally, but by comparison, I think if I had to choose, I would probably choose the 89 one, because this one was just kind of boring. Like it just didn't really do anything. Nothing, it could have been any standard somebody gets possessed or something bad happens, like kind of horror movie. Like, there was nothing great or unique or really special about this. And the only reason we watched it and are talking about it is because it's a remake of a Stephen King like classic. Like if it were just some other movie, like it would probably go a lot like lower, honestly. So I gave the original a 2.5. I think I'm gonna give this one a 2.
All
right. Yeah. So this movie is like, it's not the worst movie I've seen. It's I'm sure it won't be the worst movie that we talk about this year, but in a way, it's sort of like the worst type of movie, specifically to like review, because it's not particularly notable in any way. It's not absolutely horrible. It's just it's not great. It's not very remarkable.
It's a mediocre movie.
Yes, it's hard to remark upon. It's just sort of like okay, which makes it in the end entirely forgettable. I don't know how well I'm going to remember this movie come the end of the year. There's just not a whole lot to remember about it. It's got a couple spooky spots. That the one thing that I already mentioned before was like that one scene with the dad laying in bed with his daughter when she first comes back was like probably the only thing I will remember. For some reason, like that single tear rolling down the dad's cheek, and as he just like totally realizes how fucked he is, that landed hard. Also, I thought like the scene before that where he's like kind of combing her hair out in the bathtub, and you see the staples on the back of her head from like, I guess her being embalmed, I guess is what that's from. I thought that was kind of a cool touch that wasn't in the original. But it's just sort of I wish they had done more with the original things that they included in this movie, like with the kids in the masks. Like, what's the deal with these kids in the procession? Like, why did they make these super creepy masks? Is it something like, do they know about resurrecting their pets? Is it something that they've been doing for a while, or is it just like some fucking weird kids that they just go like throw their animal in the woods and whatever? Give us more of that. Give us more about the Wendigo. Like, show us what the Wendigo does, or like where it comes from. They just sort of like hint at these new things that we didn't get in the original movie, but they don't really like do anything with them. They change up which kid ends up getting killed, and that's like, it kind of doesn't matter, honestly. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just all in all, sort of a forgettable thing. It's got some like decent atmosphere when they're walking through the woods. There's fog out the ass. It's
dude, the fog. I was thinking of you every time.
unwieldy.
Holy shit, the fog.
I'm kind of honored
I wanna
that you
say
think
that,
of
though.
me when you see fog.
There is something to be said about like some of the shots and like the blocking and like I think some of that stuff's pretty good, and especially
Yeah.
I
in the
actually I like that kind of feel, because then it made it feel like not levity, but it made it feel like atmosphere.
Like
I don't know,
Vincent
kind of like
Price
spooky, like
Yeah.
the fog. I don't know. I liked
Like,
it.
it's got that
Yeah.
like sound stagey feel, like old school
that
horror,
Tales from the
like
Crypt.
Universal horror.
Yeah.
And you, that paints a very specific picture, and you get a very specific feeling from that. Whether you dig that or not, sign me up for sure. But it's
it's like they took like that like that Nightmare VHS board game and
Yeah,
I don't know. Remember that? It's like, is that like Tales from the Crypt style thing, but with like Hereditary's color grading?
yeah, it's I don't know. This movie, it had a lot of potential, man, and I gotta say, I'm down with Lithgow. I think he did a pretty solid job. I don't know that I've ever seen him do a bad job, honestly. And I also didn't know until I listened to Mark Maron's show interviewing him this past week. And he's like a Harvard graduate. And I didn't know that. He's just like an super interesting guy. He seems awesome. I like Lithgow. Anyway, this movie is fine. I'm gonna give it a 2. Randy, what did you say I gave the original at the top of the show? Do you remember what I gave?
I believe you gave it a 2.5. Let me double check.
2.5? Yeah.
Let me double check that.
I feel like on that rewatch last weekend, I'd probably give it higher now, but I don't know.
It's a 2.5.
Yeah. I'd probably give it more of a 3, maybe even a 3.5 on that rewatch last weekend. Anyway, I'm going with a 2 for this one. Shit. I think our aggregate, I'm going to have...
It's 2.5.
Thank you.
So
2.
what is that, like a 2.1 or something? 2.15 or something?
2.25, isn't it? Or no, less than that.
Yeah.
I had it.
Quick maths. We
We
are not Harvard graduates.
Oh,
Especially
no.
in basic math.
6,
2.
10,
2.1.
2.16 repeating. So, yeah,
Yeah.
call it a 2.2. Round up. 2.2 aggregate for Pet Sematary 2019. Let's go ahead and get into our Rotten Tomato segment and see what the critics and users have to say about Pet Sematary.
Certified fresh to death.
Take it
All
away.
right. Is old Pet Cemetery certified fresh? What did you call it earlier, Rob? Pet Cemetery?
That wasn't me. That was Randy.
Or was that a Randy joke? Oh, I
How
apologize.
dare
I
you.
apologize.
Well, I
Gotta
never.
give proper credit around here. All right, let's hop into it. Rotten Tomatoes. We are going to start with critics, as we do every week after week after week after week.
All right. With the hate.
Start
I'm
with
not
the
a
critics.
professional.
Start with the critic score. We have 171 critic reviews counted. So solid sample size for this new movie that just came out this past weekend. Let's go around the table. I feel like I hardly ever start with Bob. So Bob, why don't you kick us off with this one? What do you think the critics rated Pet Sematary 2019?
Critics, Pet Sematary. I feel like they'd probably be a little easier on it than we are being for some reason. I'll go with like a 67.
67. All right. Randy, what do you think the critics rated Pet Sematary?
That's in the neighborhood of what I wanted to say. So I'm going to go with 69.
69.
The comedy number.
Bash. Randy's been around that 69 pretty hard, huh?
I just don't want to like dedicate any more thought to being wrong about critics' options. You know, I'm constantly wrong, so
Sure.
fuck it.
Sure, that's why you say
Rod's
69.
gonna barely steal it away. You guys are both in the 60 realm, but it's lower. So it was 61. So you both are really close.
Nice.
61%. Let me scroll down. Of the 171 reviews counted, 105 were fresh, 66 were rotten. The critic consensus is 4 words.
Holy
Pet
shit.
Cemetery, real good.
Let me tell
I
you
don't
what it
want to
is.
be.
It says sometimes remade is better. Period. That is the strangest critic consensus I've ever seen.
That is fucking funny.
There's a fucking Rotten Tomatoes intern that is just jizzing his pants at his joke, but that doesn't make any fucking sense.
It really doesn't. It like, and it looks weird. At first, I was about to say there's no critic consensus because it looks like there's not. It's just like those 4-word critic consensus. Sometimes remade is better. Period. That's like
That's
that's
hilarious.
literally that is not espousing an opinion about anything.
Yeah.
That's saying like sometimes remaking things is what you do, and sometimes it's better. But we don't. That doesn't say whether or not this is better. It hasn't. I don't fucking get it. That's terrible. If you want to make that joke, say like if it's a negative review, say sometimes dead is better. Just stick with that.
Yeah.
Like that's the review.
Yeah, that's much better.
If your review is negative, then that's what you want to say. But what this person's saying is fucking nonsense. It's like it's non-committal, non-opinion.
Yeah.
It's like, what did you think of Star Wars Episode 8? Oh, it was a movie. It was definitely a movie. It was sometimes Star Wars movies are good. It was definitely a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know who's running the show. Rotten Tomatoes going downhill fast, it seems. It is not certified fresh. I think 60 is the cutoff for even like fresh or positive or whatever.
It's on the cusp.
Yeah, it's on the cusp. So 61. So let's hop into the audience score. It is a new movie, so the Oozer rating is down pretty low. 559 Oozers for Pet Cemetery. Let's reverse. Randy, kick us off with your guess.
Oh man, this is tough because I would normally take my cue from the fans, but the fans are definitely split on this even being made.
Yeah.
So
And small sample size too.
That's true. I'm gonna go with a 70. I'm gonna go with a 70. Let's do that.
70. Okay. Rob.
That's one off 69. Just 'cause.
Yeah. We're going bold, Randy. All right, Rob, how you feeling?
I feel like 70's probably a little high. I'm going to go with a 62.
62. All right, pretty close to the OG. Neither of you are close. This one, people don't seem to like it very much, I guess. 47% on the audience score. So Bob's going to win by default. Poor Randy can't catch a break. Audience score 47, super small sample size. That's kind of why I mentioned it. And again, like Randy had mentioned, it's already people, horror fans and fans of the original being like, it's got that kind of.
There's already the ground's already sour.
Yeah, so not too favorable. I was gonna look and see what some of the top critics had to say. See, I don't agree with this. I mean, maybe with the cat. One of the top critics that rated this positive said the directors make the tone just a little cheesy as the premise deserves, but not overripe. The scares are easy, sometimes literally a cat jumping from the shadows, but cleanly done. Like the cheesiness, like I don't know.
I didn't really get much cheese on this.
Yeah, but not any more or less than literally any other concept like genre.
Yeah, I guess it's really just concept based, which has nothing to do with the directors. Like,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know.
What an idiot!
One
pretty fucking strict.
One of the one of the top critics that rated it negative says this may look like the same story, but the soul of it is missing, lost on the way out of the ground. Yeah, It's at least more relevant.
That's a review that was really trying to make the comparison work.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's not wrong, or she's not wrong.
Yeah. So there's this poster on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's just a scene from the movie, and it's showing all the kids in the mask, and like those masks are like elaborate. One's a rabbit, one's a mouse, one's a dog, one's a horse. One's I can't see the one all the way in the back. It's like, I don't think kids could make these masks.
No, they definitely couldn't. I thought that when watching the movie, I was like, holy shit, that took a lot of time.
Yeah, so all right. And yeah. All right.
I was too bored to think that.
All right, Randy, let's get into some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
It's totally time.
Take it away.
All right. So we have just a few things here in reference to your favorite actor in this film, Rob. Here's this. Animal trainer Melissa Millett revealed that a total of 5 cats, all rescues, were cast to play Church.
That wasn't one.
Although ultimately one of them dropped out after getting scared on the set. The feline actors were accommodated in 5 trailers along with their human trainers, although one had to be kept in a separate trailer from the others because it did not get along with its castmates. Millett noted, "The only good working cat is a happy cat. They were quite spoiled. The film crew was even built an area near the trailers nicknamed a catio, where the hard-working kitties could play and relax between takes. The cat spent 2 months training for the shoot, which took around 10 weeks. This is a long piece of fucking trivia. Aside from one cranky cat, the rest reportedly got along well with each other, and the movie's human stars, including Jason Clarke and John Lithgow. The quintet of feline stars all found homes after the shoot was done. Aww. 2 were adopted by the animal coordinator. Millett found homes for the other 2 with friends and kept one herself. So now you know every fucking thing there is to know about the cats in this movie.
That seems like overkill for cats. Like 5
I don't think so,
trailers, man. And fucking what?
That makes sense to me, man, because she's like,
it's a big part of the movie.
It's a huge part of the movie, and also like she's right. Like if you an unwilling cat is like the worst thing that can exist in your life.
You can't take it aside and be like, hey, let's just chill out and work through this. Hey, like, it's just not going to happen.
But it needs its own trailer? Like a cat fucking knows
I think
that
it was
it's got
more
a
for the cat wrangler, the assigned wrangler, I think.
Okay.
Well, I think it's just so they have like a place that they're not going to fight, basically.
Well, they had the catio, but only one.
Well, they hang out there together, though. If one of them doesn't like the other, then they're just going to fight their asses off.
Yeah, the one wasn't allowed on the catio.
I'm not a big cat person. I'm not going to.
We need a Jackson Galaxy on the set here.
Big cat guy.
We got to call our boy Jackson Galaxy.
In the scene where Rachel and Ellie are taking a break from unpacking, Ellie is watching an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants. The episode she is watching is Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost, wherein SpongeBob and Patrick are convinced Squidward is dead and persist in preparing a proper burial for him, which is a much darker premise than I knew existed for SpongeBob. I don't recall that one.
They had Pantera
in the 1989 original.
Another fun fact.
Did they what?
Yeah, they had like a Pantera song on there. Anyway, continue.
What the fuck? In the 1989 original, the driver of the gasoline truck that struck young Gage is listening to Sheena is a Punk Rocker by the Ramones. In the newer version, the truck driver is distracted by calling his cell phone with the caller's name listed as Sheena before tragedy is struck for Ellie.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
I think that's the thing. Like, this movie obviously has some love for the original stuff. Like, I think that it does care. I think that, or at least they care about fan service. I don't know. You guess you could be cynical about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. In March 2019, producer Dee Bonaventura admitted that a prequel to the film is possible if the film is a success financially, saying, I generally don't start thinking about sequels until they're a success. I think if there's anything here, it's a prequel. I think if you look at the book, we didn't cover all the stuff that happens before the Creed family moves in. So I think there's a movie there. And I think I would be particularly interested in doing that again, because again, the source material, you're going towards something that also has a lot of crazy, creepy feelings about it. let's just go ahead and put out a call to arms against that idea. Sorry, not in favor.
I don't know. We have certain sway. Like we definitely get the Blu-ray steel boxes made. We definitely have sway in that realm. But it seems like anytime we call for something not to get made, the opposite happens. So maybe I don't know.
So just not say anything is the best course of
we
action.
only
still think it's going to get made.
The realm of Blu-ray, I guess. Yeah, I don't think it's going to get made. Certainly based off those fucking audience scores. How many people are going to see a prequel to this movie if they fucking hate this one?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the only thing is, like, I don't know. This concept could be creepier, and like if they did like an Annabelle creation, it was like older times, and people were more like not religious, but like more like superstitious or I don't know. Like it could be like the thing is, I hate that they botched the idea. Like I think the idea of burying something and coming back evil is like a good idea. They just like kind of they fumbled it, you know.
What else could they possibly say about the concept of grief? They'd have to come up with a whole different like central idea.
Well, no, they could just really just make a better horror movie. Is really what they could do.
Okay. I guess. I mean, it wouldn't. Yeah. Judd's wife Norma is alive in the novel, while she has died prior to the events of the film. She almost dies of a heart attack early in the book, but Lewis saves her, which is one of the reasons that Judd takes Lewis to the burial ground, which actually would have been pretty beneficial.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Wait, why did he take him to the burial ground?
Because in the movie, John Lithgow has this scene where he's like, "Oh, your daughter, she touched my heart in a way I didn't think possible."
You did.
And that was specifically for just the cat. So, in both cases. So, yeah. The Wendigo is a folk tale originating from northeastern tribes that share Algonquin language. The Algonquin language. It was a human-devouring beast that served as a cautionary tale against snowbound people turning to cannibalism in the throes of starvation. In various stories, the Wendigo is either created when this abomination happens or can possess someone and drive them to feed on survivors or the deceased among them. In King's novel, this evil presence is what reanimates the dead and sends them back bloodthirsty and hungry for flesh. Its presence appears in the final third of the movie with a grief-stricken Lewis Creed carrying the exhumed body of his 9-year-old daughter beyond the ruins of the pet cemetery to the ancient resurrection grounds that lie deep within the woods. As he passes through Little God Swamp, standing amongst the trees, then the mist closes around a shape and it's gone. Like the audience, Lewis isn't supposed to be sure what he's looking at, which is exactly how it plays out in King's novel when he sees or thinks he sees a towering figure of a creature in Little God Swamp. So, yeah, there's Wendigo for you. I don't know. Like, I wanted to point this out, though. The idea that I don't really like on a broad overview level, I really don't like this idea that the zombies they're basically zombies. Like in this interpretation in particular, these bodies don't come back just to torment the person who buried them with a facsimile of the person that they loved. In this movie, they're actually like trying to proliferate themselves as a race by killing each other and burying each other. And like, what? Like, that's something I don't need. Like, it just doesn't really add anything. It's, I don't know. I didn't like that. I just want to point that out. That's all.
Lame.
In the novel, when Lewis considers bringing Gage back by burying him in the burial ground, Judd tells Lewis the gruesome story of Timmy, the last person who was resurrected by the ground. However, the story of Timmy was not included in the film. In the film, while Lewis is doing research on the burial ground after Church is resurrected, he comes across an article about a Vietnam vet spotted after his funeral. His name is listed as Timmy Bateman in the article. So they just kind of like reference that by way of newsprint. Rather than, I really like that scene in the original, like where they detail that story, where Judd details that story.
Yeah.
But they skipped it. During Ellie's birthday party, Judd can be heard in the background saying, quote, "There was a big St. Bernard. He got rabies." This is an obvious reference to Cujo, another movie based on the Stephen King novel, and is also mentioned in the book in that same scene. So it's a tie-in to Cujo there. Another tie-in to other King properties is coming. At one point, a sign is shown that reads D. Torrance Realty, a reference to Danny Torrance from King's other novel, The Shining.
The Shining.
The Shining. The cemetery the Creeds pass on their way to their new home and where Ellie is later buried is actually the real-life Mount Hope Cemetery in Bangor, Maine. This cemetery also appeared in the 1989 movie. So they use the same cemetery. That's kind of fun.
Go.
And that's really about it. There's a little bit more, but it's all very long-winded, so fuck it.
All right.
You know what time it is.
Cooter of the week.
Let's talk cooters. Let's do it.
Cooter. So, I don't know. There wasn't a cooter in this movie.
Yeah, there's...
Not really.
Do we want to talk about last week since you botched it?
Oh, my God. So we're definitively going to agree that there is no cooter in Pet Sematary 2019.
Nah, this movie was too, too
free.
bland to have any kind of cooter. They weren't even focused on any people, let alone developing a cooter.
That's fine. I can agree with that. I don't really feel compelled to call a cooter out on this one. Let's talk about last week. Was there a cooter in House of Wax? The Paris Hilton House of Wax.
All of them are cooters in that movie, just about.
Yeah.
To the brim.
To the brim. Except for her dude. What he was just like. He's just like a guy. He wasn't very cool.
Oh no, he was walking around like
he had
doing that horror boyfriend thing where it's like, come on, babe, don't be scared. We're just gonna go into a wax museum for no reason when we need a fan belt.
Oh, that's not cooter level though.
I don't know. I think it was arrogant a little bit.
I think my number one cooter,
sucks, I guess, is my
There's a long list of pretty great cooters. I think my number one cooter is the third brother.
I was gonna say that too.
Like the guy who's picking up the carcasses with the truck. The roadkill truck. He's my number one.
I would say that was my kind of vote as well. Or I was gonna say, which brother is the one making the wax titties? Because that dude spends a lot of time on those.
The one with the mask, yeah.
That dude
spends a lot of time.
Like Tammy said, you got to make sure they're just right.
Yeah, that dude. He was honing it in, which I guess that's a corpse. So I mean, really, they're like
how much sculpting is required on a corpse?
Yeah, exactly.
Justin, that's plus a quarter star, right, from you?
Quarter star. Yeah, Rob asked me post review, so I sent my review, and Rob said, "Justin, what about the Yabos? Are you giving a half star?" And I said no, and then he said something else, and I was like, "Well, okay, maybe quarter star because I feel like half the boobs I get. Well, hang on, half the Yabos I give a half star. Anyways, are probably silicone. So what's giving a quarter star for some wax Yabos?" You know,
man's got to have a code. I don't know. So
there's a real complex algorithm that goes into that rule.
So we're going
I just
with
can't get my head around it.
The third roadkill.
Can we discount
roadkill brother?
Can we discount the Sawyer family of that movie for a minute and talk about the kids? Because I think that fucking blonde kid is a bit of a cooter, man.
We got to do it quick. I don't want to get hung up on this too long.
That's it. Well, he's a cooter. Fuck him.
The blonde kid. Also, I guess the boyfriend too. He's a pretty big cooter. The Paris Hilton's boyfriend, or the football guy.
Yeah, he's trying to get laid. That's that character in its entirety. He's just trying to get laid.
He's just trying to get laid and watch the fuck out of some football that not named teams.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about some news because I have some things I want to talk about too. We have some trailers, but there's also something else I want to bring up that I'm confused about. So let's go ahead and knock out these trailers because they look pretty cool.
Okay, let's get into some horror news.
Extra, read all about it.
All right. So we talked about the new Jim Jarmusch movie that's coming out called The Dead Don't Die. We just got a trailer for it, so we actually kind of know what it's looking like now. It looks like it's basically like a zombie comedy movie. The trailer unleashes this insane cast. It's got Bill Murray, Adam Driver, Tilda Swinton, Chloe Sevigny, Steve Buscemi, Danny Glover, Rosie Perez, Iggy Pop, Sarah Driver, RZA, Selena Gomez, Tom Waits. It's fucking everybody coming out. It's actually getting a wide release too, which is fucking cool, on June 14th. So it's coming up pretty soon. What'd you guys think about the trailer here?
The cast, like, I was just like, it kept coming. Like you said, I was like, oh my God. I love Adam Driver, Bill Murray, obviously, like Tilda Swinton. Like, I mean, I just like, it was hard to ignore all of the names being thrown at me, and just because like the premise, I was like, just, we've said it time, the zombies, it's just, we're so burnt out. We're so burnt out. But I couldn't ignore, like, I was like, shit, Adam Driver, fuck yeah. And I was like, Bill Murray, I was like, oh my God, like,
that's
and then
my
like
feeling too, man.
The comedy was like getting me pretty good. And I was like, man, I mean, I'm like digging it, but like, you know,
it almost feels like a
like
Wes Anderson zombie movie or some shit,
right?
Exactly.
Which is should be an SNL bit, but it's not. It like, I don't know. I think that if it wasn't for Tom Waits being in this movie, even having Bill Murray, I really don't know that I'd be all that interested. The trailer was
Driver
fine.
Really kind of what was selling.
I mean, he's good, but he's not a selling point to me. Like, he's not somebody that I would go out of my way to. I will see every movie that has Tom Waits in it.
Me too.
That's where I'm at.
Me too, man.
So I mean, I don't know. It's entertaining enough in that respect, and I don't think that I'll hate it. But the zombie thing, I didn't we reach critical mass on zombies like 4 years ago?
Yes, but every once in a while, man, you'll get one that's like, oh shit.
Right.
Like Train to Busan changed my mind. When I watched that, I was like totally over zombies. And then watching Train to Busan, I was like, damn, dude, there's still more. You can still do more.
Yeah,
that's a
but
great movie.
That's like the problem, though, because what happened with that movie is it went back to form of being like, okay, this is a real horror instead of a twist on the like. How many zombie comedies, just comedies, has there been? Not including Bud the Chef.
Which is definitely the best one ever.
Full circle.
God. Yeah,
I mean, Shaun of the Dead basically like wrote the book on that entire subsect of cinema.
I agree.
And there's like a dozen of those fucking things over the past 15 years.
We're getting Zombieland 2 this October, you know. Just
what the fuck does that
I'm checking out of that one. No,
we are. I don't know, man. I'm excited for this. I am. It might not be amazing, but I'm looking forward to it.
We're not covering Zombieland 2, are we?
I don't know. We haven't gotten that far. It kind of it depends, man. I feel like October's probably gonna have a lot to cover that
I cannot wait until like the top 10 of this year. Like, I can't fucking wait.
It's a stacked year, man. If you're out there complaining like we don't get any more original horror, you're just like not looking for it, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot. It's hard to keep
Glass?
up with.
I mean, we already got Glass.
We are, number one. Best movie.
Didn't even. Did anybody else watch the new Twilight Zone? That comedian episode?
Yeah, I did.
I haven't.
It's on YouTube for free, so they're kind of giving you the first episode for free.
And Hulu.
It's fucking
and Amazon Prime.
Damn, I didn't know all that. It's solid, man. I like it. I thought it was pretty cool.
I did too. I thought it was like right in the Twilight Zone realm. It was perfect.
Yeah, all right. What was the other trailer? I liked it, but that didn't look like a horror movie. Why did you make us watch that?
So it's not a movie. It's actually a show that's going straight to Amazon. And it's Nicholas Winding Refn's new joint. So if you're familiar with him, you know he did Neon Demon. He directed Drive. Anyway, so the show is called Too Old to Die Young. It's a 10-episode series that's going to Amazon. All episodes are going to be posted up there June 14th again, 2019. So I don't know, man. It's got Miles Teller in it, who was he was
Whiplash.
Yeah, the kid from Whiplash.
That's
Fantastic Four.
And the good one.
Fantastic Four.
And Project X, I think.
The good one.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, Miles Teller introduces some very conflicted feelings for me because Whiplash is great.
I love Whiplash.
Project X was a movie that like keyed in very like a fucking laser on shit that I hate.
Yeah, but he was young. That was like one that like
I don't blame him for taking a role.
Yeah,
but he was like the most insufferable character in the movie too.
Anyway, I'm a fan of Nicholas Winding Refn stuff. Like it's not all amazing. I love Drive. I thought Drive was great, honestly. But this definitely has his look. He's got these like, neon sort of colors, like really really rich, vibrant colors, and he's got sort of like that synth wave soundtrack going on. It's very moody, kind of dead.
That's the aesthetic, man.
Yeah,
that's the aesthetic of this year for sure. Like that shit's everywhere. That bright pink.
It's always been his thing too. He's not new to
Brian
him.
used to and shit. Like, no, it's not new to him at all.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, it's no wonder that's coming out this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if it took off just strictly on the trendiness of that style.
Yeah.
But
that said, like, it looks like a fucking interesting story to me.
Yeah, there's like a quick little blurb here. It says the series explores the criminal underbelly of Los Angeles by following characters' existential journeys from being killers to becoming samurais in the city of Angels. To becoming samurais. What the fuck?
The samurai's kind of out of left field. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay. I don't know. It sounds interesting, man. I'll watch it. I'll check it out. I'm sure it'll be
I'm intrigued.
At least like visually stunning, at the very least, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm down. Justin, what you had something specific you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so I know you guys talked about Annabelle. What is it? Is coming home or something?
Yeah,
Annabelle
comes home,
which I didn't even know was being made, to be honest. And somebody had mentioned, I don't know, where it's being advertised as part of the Wanaverse or whatever.
Yeah.
There's this other movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
About like some Mexican
The Curse
lore
of La
or something.
Llorona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything I see about that movie has like another entry in the Wanaverse, and I think even in the trailer, like the Wanaverse, and I'm like,
yeah,
what? What?
And
like,
we're getting The Conjuring 3 this year, so there's 3 Wanaverse movies in 1 year.
Wait, no, but okay, where did this movie come from? And how does everybody know it's attached to the Wanaverse? And why is it attached to the Wanaverse? Or what is going? Because it looks like just a generic ass fucking.
So apparently this is like some pretty legit like Latin American folklore.
Yeah,
but we don't know how it's attached to the Wanaverse. I assume we won't have any idea until we watch the movie and find out. But the guy,
because it comes out like next week or some shit.
God,
yeah, it's produced.
Warrens show up in that movie. I'm gonna be so pissed.
It's produced by Juan, and I guess he was very impressed by, I forget the director's name, the guy who directed. He was impressed with what he did with it, so he gave him the Conjuring 3 movie. He's going to be directing the Conjuring 3 movie. So
that dude has 2 movies coming out.
Yeah, I think the Conjuring 3 is supposed to come out this fall, I believe, unless it gets pushed back. But so yeah, we should be getting 3 Wanaverse movies this year.
I was a little bit on board with this fucking movie because I like Linda Cardellini, and I think that like it's some sort of actual folklore. So I was interested to see like a folklore that I'm not familiar with, sort of portrayed on screen.
Yeah.
But if it's part of if there's a fucking hint of Annabelle on this shit, I'm gonna shit in the fucking theater seat.
I'm kind of with you, man. I would watch it like with an open mind, but if fucking Annabelle shows up at all, like I'm kind of out.
Why are there 3 movies coming out this year?
I don't know.
Why is it the Wanaverse? Here's the bullshit of like, okay, let's say there's a Wanaverse, okay? What is special about the Wanaverse? Like what is the thread like that anybody gives 2 shits about?
The only thing that is special about it is
why does it even matter?
James Wan's talent, and when he's no longer directing, that's gone. you know?
And he's really, what's he got? The Conjuring? Like, okay, so like even saying like, oh, the Wanaverse, like these things all exist in the same universe. It's like, to what end? Who gives any shit?
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
It's like, okay, like you got the Marvel universe. It's like, it's because they team up. It's because they like they're a team. It's like, who gives a shit about Go? Like,
they're a goddamn team.
Like,
I love that I'm rubbing off on you.
I don't understand. Who gives a fuck?
On this side of the ring.
I don't understand. Who cares?
I don't know that I can answer that.
At me, bro. Like, fucking at me, because I don't know. I don't understand.
Make a La Llorona. Just make a movie of its own. Just make it.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
If even it sucks, at least it doesn't automatically have this huge minus in that it's including a stack of movies that is of questionable value at this point. Like,
I saw a poster for it and I was like, what is this movie? So I went on Rotten Tomato or something just to like check it out, and it's already like got reviews. I guess it comes out like next week, and it was like the latest entry in the Wonderverse, and I was like, what?
See, and that's like,
what?
They're advertising that other fucking movie. Fuck. They're advertising it as part of the the new Annabelle. The new Annabelle. I was trying to remember what it was. The new Annabelle. They're actually using the term, like, not Waniverse, but the James Wan universe or whatever, the Conjuring universe. They're actually using that. And the reason I brought that up is because I was like, okay, at least they're being honest about that. But La Llorona, I haven't seen that anywhere. So it just adds
I think it was supposed to be sneaky, but I guess people have seen it and it's not sneaky anymore. You know.
Yeah, because here's the thing, even about it, like we were talking about, or you guys are talking about, like the ghost, and they like all come together. Like that doesn't even seem like, I don't want to see the nun chilling with
not at all. Nobody wants to see that.
Like,
I don't think nobody wants that.
Like I don't want to see. Like I don't want to see. Like. It does not intrigue the idea of the Crooked Man and the Nun and Annabelle and Lost whatever, and like them all like haunting the same place. That doesn't do anything for me. Like,
it kind of does something for me. Like,
why? But we've already seen
it's a spectacle.
People, but
it's
like
not for any reason that matters. But I'd be like, yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not excited about it, but it's like watching a battle royale. It's like, okay, fucking why not?
But who are they battling though? Like, who? Like,
I kind of want them to fight each other. That's what I'm at. Like, I kind of want them to be
let them fight.
I want it to be fucking Thunderdome for ghosts.
So, I don't understand who gives a shit.
This last Friday, Anthony from Something Delish again, like, posted this thing on Twitter, and it was like, you know, Annabelle comes home, Annabelle creation, Annabelle goes to college, Annabelle late registration, and it was like this ongoing thing that like people were like making up these Annabelle sequel movies.
First lesbian experience,
and I got into this like back and forth with like, you know, one of our listeners in the show, and we came up with like literally 30 Annabelle sequels just going back and forth. I came up with like Annabelle versus the Nun, Annabelle versus the Nun 2, Back in the Habit, and then we came up with 30 more. It was like,
holy shit,
insanity.
Wouldn't the Nun 2 be? Anyway, it really is. It's becoming like Godzilla. Like, just make a bunch of versus movies.
Yeah,
they'll be terrible, but hell, I can throw it on and have a drink.
I'm tired of these damn universe movies because none of them matter. None of them matter
to begin with.
No, like even the whole, I've said it, I've been beating the drum like Godzilla vs. King Kong. Like, what? Why? Like,
would y'all watch a movie called Annabelle vs. the Nun XXX? Girls Just Want to Have None. That was part 30.
That sounds like a premium channel that I don't have.
Why would ghosts verse each other anyway? And what are they gonna do?
Doesn't matter. Look,
what are they gonna do?
My argument is this: these shouldn't be made. They really shouldn't. No, there should be no more. But if they're gonna make new ones, just make them as dumb as possible, and let me enjoy fucking, like, I don't know, like the Crooked Man trying to like kick the shit out of a fucking doll. Like, why not?
Well, yeah, but I don't even know what that looks like. What a fight? Why would Ghost fight? And in what
matter
way?
At this point,
just a bunch
like you said, it didn't matter to begin with.
Clashing mists. Like
for its own,
so
there's. I don't know, man. You could have fucking like spectral.
I think we covered it. I think.
Oh my god!
I think we got it.
I was just so confused, and I know. Well, I brought it up because I wasn't here to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know fucking Annabelle Comes Home. That was just as surprising to me too. And then that other one was like another Into the Waterverse. I was like, what? Why? What is this? This is getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand.
The world is finally turning to meet that.
Especially because there's one really good one. It's called The Conjuring, and it was like 2011, and then everything else has just gotten worse. The Conjuring 2 was good, but like Randy said, diminishing returns, and then each time it just becomes less and less and less and less.
At least Insidious had the decency to maintain just one franchise.
Yeah, we got.
I'm surprised they're not trying to shoehorn that shit in. Fucking retcon the fucking demon into that shit, or the fucking.
It's a different production company, I think, so they can't.
Okay.
No, it's not related. It's not related at all.
Yeah, same director. That's it. Anyway, that's it. We covered it. We got it. We're going to be back next week with a brand new episode. We're going to be talking about Hellboy 2019 reboot.
Hellboy.
Rebootin' tootin'. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm like kind of excited about it a little bit. I like David Harbour.
Poor soul.
I like David Harbour, but I don't know.
We're going in with
summer child.
We're going in with Glass again, and
no. I was admittedly more excited for Glass for sure. I'm hesitant about Hellboy, but still like.
Why are you excited about Hellboy?
I'm excited to see David Harbour in like a big movie. And also,
excited for David Harbour's career. Well, that might not work out.
And what's his face? What's the director's name? I always forget this dude's name. Let me look it up real quick. He did Neil Marshall. He directed The Descent and that fucking Dog Soldiers. So he's got some pretty good movies under his belt.
The more I see of this movie, the more I think I'm gonna fucking hate it, which might be helpful because I'm going in low expectation. So
I agree. The more I see, the kind of less excited. I'm still excited, but the more I see, the less so, for sure. I don't know. So we're talking about Hellboy next week. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. It's an easy way to support the show. Your positive ratings and reviews help people find us that don't know we exist, and we really do appreciate it. You can find us on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. We are on Twitter at STR8_chilling. You can send us an email through our website, Straight Chilling Podcast. Hit us up on our YouTube, youtube.com/Straight Chilling Podcast. If you want to hit us up on Slack, just let us know on any one of those social media platforms, and I will send you a link so you can do that. We talk about the movie of the week as well as what other spooky shit that comes up. Just another reminder, we're going to be doing another Joe Bob live watch this Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you want to hang out with us, we're going to post a link to join that live watch on our Facebook and on our Twitter just before the show time starts. So definitely join in on the fun. It was a good time this past Friday and the week prior. It's been great. So I think that's everything right there, Phyllis.
And Monday night Twitch streams, which will be, tomorrow night from now, but I don't know when you guys are going to be listening to this, but we'll do 9 p.m. Eastern too. Maybe it's just like standard 9 p.m. Eastern on everything.
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah. Just about. Cool. So yeah, that's going to do it for us.
And that's twitch.tv/Straight Chilling Podcast. I always forget to mention it, but it's .tv, not .com.
Okay, cool. .tv. So until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Sometimes chilling is better.